Hello all, I've made a tool that helps run fantasy leagues for, well, really custom fantasy leagues. Either, with the RLCS, some of you like to do snake leagues, and this can help with that, or you can use it for community tournaments. I'm going to try to keep this as brief as possible and just run through it. So the tool that we're looking at is a Jupyter Notebook. It's a Colab file that exists on Google Drive that I'm going to put in the description. It has 4 code segments. This first one gets your replays and calculates fantasy stats per players. You can see the table down here. This second code segment downloads that. This third code segment does team scores if you input the teams right here, and there's some comments to help you. I'll go through that later. And then this fourth code segment downloads that table to make everything as easy for you as possible. This runs with minimal setup, but there is some setup that I'm going to go through now. So the first thing is, if you don't have Google Colab set up, which most people don't, it takes under a minute to set it up. You go to your Google Drive like I do here. I have a bunch of my public Rocket League projects in here. You go to New over here in the top left corner, like you're going to add a file. You'll see Colab isn't a file type that you have. You go to More. It won't be here for you unless you've already added it and connected it. So you would go to Connect More Apps. Then you would type in up here, Colab. It'll pop up. You'll install it. And then you would have Colab files available to you. Then you'd click the link in the description so that you could actually open this. And it's just going to be this fantasy team player scores, I think, is what I have. Yes, that's what it's named. Anyway, we'll go back to the file. The next thing that you need to do is get your ball chasing token, and we're going to get that in a way that still keeps your token safe. So you see, I have it here, and I have it getting the token from my own Google data, and I'm going to show you how to put this in your Google data. You're just going to go to your ball chasing page, see I'm logged in the top. You're going to go to upload, and then you have your token here that you can just copy by clicking that button. If you have used Backasmod to upload replays with the plugin, you've done something like this before and put this in Backasmod. So I'm just going to copy that, and then I'm going to come back, click on this key where the secrets are kept, and create a new ball chasing token. I'm going to paste the token here, and I have to name it exactly this, ball chasing underscore token in all caps, and then it'll work. The first time you run this file, it will ask if you want to allow the file to go get that. You'll say yes, and you'll be good. There's very little setup after this for just getting player scores. You'll see this groups down here. This is for putting the replay link. And I'm going to show you how you would do that now, as if it were a community fantasy league, and then I'll show you for the RLCS replays a little bit later. So this community fantasy league, I'm going to go to community I'm in, shout out Earthling Urief, and I'm going to go to one of his replay groups. I'm picking it at random. We'll call it this one. And I'm just going to grab everything. You see it says ballchasing.com/group/. This whole thing is the group ID. I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to come over here and I'm going to paste it here. And we're going to make sure that's in quotes. And we're good. Now, if you want to add multiple groups, you would add a comma and then paste your next group like that. We don't need to do that because we're only going to use the one group. So this is just going to, and I'm going to run it, and all it's going to do is pull all of the stats from that replay group on ball chasing, put them into a nice, neat table down here, and when it's done, compute fantasy scores for it. And you'll see you'll have the name of the 6 people, it counts 0 to 5, but still 6 people in that series that was run. You'll get their striker score, their midfield score, their defense score, their base score. That's all there. If you want to be done after that and do the rest on your own, you can. You can run this code segment right here, and you'll see it pop up that I just downloaded that. I don't actually want that, so I'm going to delete it. I don't want node in there either. Anyway, so you could be done after that. If, for example, and I'm going to pull this in off screen, I have a second tab that you won't be able to see. I'm going to go to the regional that just happened today. So I'm pulling this replay ID that's about to pop up in groups is the replay ID for the European regional that just happened. Just finished a few minutes ago. And then I'm going to pull the one that's from Europe. I'm going to pull South America. So now I have the same week of Europe and South America, remember, separated by a comma. And if I run this, we're going to see player scores pop up below. And you'll see this is truncated. It skips from 4 to 64. But if I click this, you'll see that the whole thing pops up. And you'll see striker, midfield, defense scores. Oh, wow, I didn't even look at this yet. Look at Drufo popped off. That's crazy. I think this is partial. I think South America is only through the first bit, and so some of the stronger teams have been playing the weaker teams, but so it'll be a bit crazy. But like I said, you can also just download that. Fantasy scores calculated for everyone, synthesized. Great. I'm going to talk about, and you can, of course, download. Now I'm going to talk about this section down here, which is calculating team scores as if people have picked teams like you would on FanRL. If you're running a community league or a snake league on your own, this is where you would set it up. I only have 2 teams set up, and they're actually set up for, I think, last year's World Championship. So I'm going to drop that replay ID back in up here. In case you don't know how to find the RLCS replays, I can show you very quickly. I always do this way because it's very quick. Top uploaders all time. Rocket League is like 12. Replay groups, last year, 2024, World Championship. I don't need to dive down any further because you can get everything in these subgroups by just stealing the top level group. It'll do the whole average, and this is the average that FanRL would use as well. So then I'm going to come over here. I'm going to paste that. I'm going to close my quote. And I'm going to run it again because this is going to give us the correct stats that line up with the teams. See, we have our teams back, and I know these 3 didn't play, but there's actually a show match that's included in this replay group. So after that, I'm going all the way down here to the team score segment. And you'll see this you don't need to worry about. That just runs stuff. All of this stuff is just running stuff and making sure the program doesn't break. And this is much the same, making synthesizing everything and printing it out. Anyway, the part that you need to worry about, and maybe I'll give you a little bit of extra space so you can see it on its own, is this right here where you set up the teams. So each team is going to be in between these brackets. It's going to be a list of things separated by commas. So the first thing in the list, and it says it right here, it gives you the order of things. First is team name, striker 1 name, striker 2 name, midfield 1, midfield 2, defense 1, defense 2. After each player is going to be a 0. That's just a placeholder for where their score is going to go. It's also handy because if you type in a name wrong, their score is just going to be 0 because it can't get pulled. So team name, striker 1, striker 2, mid 1, mid 2, defense 1, defense 2, 0s after every player. And this is going to pull, I know these 12 players or however many are up in this table. I set this up earlier. And when I run this, it's going to compute the scores, or it's going to pull the scores for each of those players, and then compute the score for the team, and then order the teams from highest score to lowest score. These were totally picked at random. These were not intelligently picked. These are just examples. And then lastly, you can download it down here. By running this, you'll see the download pops up in the top right corner again. I did name it RL stats table. I should name it something like RL team stats table, right? RL team, and I'll name it team so it doesn't break the program, and we're fine. And so using these 2 tools, just by modifying those things that I've showed you, you can have a very flexible tool that allows you to run any type of fantasy league you want without a ton of time spent in Excel. After you set this up initially, the only thing you would really need to change are these teams down here and the replays that you're using. After that, you're all set up. You did it the first time and everything's done. So hopefully you guys find this super useful. I'll include links in the description and you can let me know if there's anything else you would like included.